If you are looking to climb the ranks and crush in your games, at GameLeap.com you can learn the best ways to master every single hero and lots of other tips and tricks. To fully master all of these things, make sure to sign up at GameLeap.com at the end of the video. Anyways, let's dive in. How's it going, everybody? My name is Artorigold, and today I want to talk about the meta. More specifically, the current state of the meta, maybe the past meta, and what the future might bring us. Personally, I think the meta for GOATs right now is a little bit tiring. Now, I'm not saying that other metas were better than GOATs, but I'm certainly ready for a change, and personally, I kind of want to go into more of what we want as a community and what we would like the meta to be. So first off, when the game first started, I think Season 1 was a cluster. I don't think it was very, stable. It was very chaotic. Nobody knew what the heck they were doing, and it really showed, especially because there was no hero limits back then. So I'm kind of gonna start back with Season 2. Season 2, Ana just came out, and Nano Boost was broken. I mean, it's still really good right now, but back when it first came out, it gave you this gigantic speed boost, and that was kind of insane back in the day. So one of the biggest things that Season 2 and Season 3 was kind of known for was basically the Beyblade meta, right? Let her rip. It's back when the speed boost from Nano Boost was so strong that you could give it to a Reaper, so when he used his Death Blossom ultimate ability, he would just go flying. I mean, he'd have the damage, he'd have nothing to stop him, and he would just go so fast and kill everything in sight. And honestly, that was kind of an interesting and more fun meta, and I definitely don't think, even if you brought back the speed boost with Nano, I don't think that comp would work as well, mostly because Brig could probably get away with stunning the Reaper like mid-spin, so it wouldn't really work as well as it used to in the day. But that was what the early days, the very early seasons of Overwatch was, and I think there still was a good amount of tanks being played. When Ana was first introduced, her nade definitely started to introduce the multiple tank team comp, like triple tank and things like that, and it was enabled a little bit, but it also wasn't really as broken or as strong as it is today, but it definitely was kind of starting to bud, right? It started to appear. So eventually that speed boost on Nano got nerfed, and then we got pretty much dive meta for the longest time, and solo queue ladder was definitely dive meta for, I think, Season 4 through probably around Season 9 or something like that. Like, there was a really long time where it was just Lucio, Zen, Genji Tracer, Winston Diva. For the longest time on most maps, it was just dive, 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 and that's how everything was. Now, one of the things I'd like to talk about, and a lot of people bring this up to me, was dive really healthy and good for the game? A lot of people remember it fondly, and I'm not sure if that's maybe because GOATs is just, they're so tired of GOATs and they just hate playing GOATs so much, they want to go back to dive, because it was one of those team comps that really enabled a little bit more variety. I mean, sure, there's like Zen GOATs and Moira GOATs, but I mean, people don't always enjoy that team composition as much as the 2-2-2, which is 2 DPS, 2 tanks, and 2 support. And I think me personally, and I think a lot of other people out there would agree, that I think the game is much more fun when it's at that 2-2-2 state. It's just perfectly balanced, as all things should be, right? That Thanos reference. But anyways, I do think that that's probably what everybody wants from the game. I don't think people really enjoy going triple support, triple tank, or quad tank, double support. I mean, having a DPS role at the competitive level is very far and very few between. I mean, the most that you get is when it's a Widowmaker map and people have to play Widowmaker, because Widowmaker just has so much more value on the competitive scene. In solo queue ladder, I just see so much GOATs on almost any map, and you're able to get away with it because GOATs is just this team comp that really demands so much teamwork and coordination to deal with. And if you're playing on the solo queue ladder, then you're just not going to be able to get through that unless you're really knowing what, like as a team, you're really able to work together better than this team running GOATs, which is rather difficult, right? If the enemy team's on GOATs and your team just doesn't swap whatever they're running and it's not working, then you're just going to lose. And I mean, what do you find on the solo queue ladder? You find all of these people that, are very stubborn, they don't want to switch, they want to play what they want to play, and sometimes it seems like they don't care about winning or losing. And that's basically what I'm talking about. This meta is extremely rough for solo queue ladder right now, because occasionally you will get teams that run goats, and when that happens, you basically have to mirror them, play way better to them, and play like way more teamwork and coordination, and that's just really hard to do on solo queue ladder. And then if you look at the competitive scene, you got these people playing goats that are just way too strong in every single map, because goats is also an extremely powerful team comp whenever you work together as a team too, because you're able to just never die. And as long as you focus fire whatever target it is that you need to take out, then there's no problem with you as a team, and you get the objective pretty easily, and you just bully them off the point. It's a very rough meta for Overwatch, and the reason why I bring it up is because I really want to talk about what we as a community would want to see from the next meta. Now, if we've gone through a lot of different things, and I think people forget, even though Dive was pretty much alive up until Brig, I think there were a couple of other things that people might forget about with the old metas that people never really enjoyed, or at least I know I didn't enjoy, and I don't think other people did as well. Unless maybe you were the mains of those characters, you probably enjoyed them. But one of the things that I also disliked in the old meta was I really disliked the Mercy meta. I mean, I like Mercy, she's a cool character, and I like what she does now, and I think her current state is something I could get into with a different video, but I mean, Mercy was broken. When she had Valkyrie first release, that remade Ultimate, I mean, she was just the most broken. You literally just lost the game if you didn't have a Mercy on your team. And that's how it was for a long time. What was it, like 3 or 4 seasons? It felt like that. Dive meta was really good at the 6v6 level, but then once Mercy got her rework, you needed a Mercy on your team in solo queue ladder. I mean, the value from double res and being able to just never die, it was insane. You would just fly around in the air, nobody be able to hit you because you just flew so fast. The only way you could ever kill a Mercy was if you had maybe a high noon or visor, but even then, the Mercy could probably just fly out of line of sight and it wouldn't affect her at all. And then 2 reses on top of that, I mean, they were instant reses. It was, oh man, just thinking about it. I have like PTSD from it. So I really didn't like that meta, personally. And then on top of that, they had the Junkrat changes. Back when everybody played Junkrat, do you remember that? Junkrat was so strong. They had the tire move at speeds unknown to the human eye. That tire would go so fast, it was unstoppable. And then you put the Mercy on top of it with the damage boost and all that, and Junkrat was just the most broken character on solo queue ladder. It was nuts. We even saw him on the 6v6 competitive scene quite a bit too, because that's just how hard it was for anybody to deal with that tire. The tire just climbed anywhere it wanted to on the high ground, and it just moved so quickly that even the top level pros wouldn't be able to react and kill the tire like 60-70% of the time. It was almost impossible because it would come at you at these really crazy high ground locations because it would just go up wherever it wanted to. It didn't care, and then it would come at you at really fast speeds, and there's just nothing you can do about it. The only thing that really kind of canceled that out was the fact that you had Mercy to res after you got killed by the tire. I guess in a way that was kind of nice, but I would think the community wouldn't want to go back to that kind of meta. I think everybody is not happy with that meta. I don't think people want Junkrat to be OP, because then you get the solo queue ladder experience where it's literally just spamming all kinds of projectiles, and it's like playing Frogger just to get through the choke point into the actual point itself, and nobody really enjoyed that. And then you had Mercy, and although I think Mercy mains had a lot of fun with playing Mercy in that state, I don't think everybody else had that much fun, because they were also a lot of support mains that were forced to play Mercy, and it's just like nowadays, right? Like, you're forced to play Brig. I guess what I'm getting at is I think that forcing you to play a character on solo queue ladder because that character is so broken and you need it to win, I don't think that's healthy for the game. I mean, what do we have right now? We have the same thing with Briggs. Like, half of the time, if the enemy team is running a certain team comp, you have to go Goats in order to win, or you have to go Brig in order to get that win. And that's not what we want in Overwatch. I mean, am I alone in this? I don't think so. but that's one of the reasons why I'm bringing it up. Maybe I am alone in this. Maybe people really enjoy having these characters be so strong that you need to pick them, and when you do, you basically just win the game because of that pick. Now, I think that might go down to the foundations of Overwatch, and what Overwatch really is a game that demands you to swap characters a lot. And that way, there's a lot of counters, soft counters and hard counters to a lot of different characters and varieties of team comps, but I think more often than not, it's a game that you have to switch characters a lot and constantly deal with different situations in order to win. For example, you pick Tracer, enemy team picks Brig, and now what do? You pick like Pharah, or maybe you pick Brig back or something. And that's kind of how the state of the game is, and that's kind of how it has been for a little while, right? Like if the enemy team has a Pharah who's just completely dominating you, what do? You go like a hit scan character to try and deal with her, right? That's something that's always been around to the game, and I do think to a degree, I think that's fine. Like if the enemy team has a Pharah, and she's dominating, and you need to go hit scan to deal with her, I think that's an acceptable swap. I think it's okay to try to deal with that, because it's not really a hard counter, it's a soft counter, right? Because the Pharah still has a lot of ways to try and outplay that hit scan character. Now, you compare that to what we have now, which is like somebody picking Tracer, and then you pick Brig to try and deal with the Tracer, and the Tracer is completely hard countered, and there's like nothing the Tracer can do against a Brig. She can stay away from people and stay away from the enemy team, but if you do that, your damage output is like next to nothing, right? So you're just not getting any value. And I think that's one of the problems with Overwatch that I'm trying to get at, is a lot of the old metas had these characters that were so strong that you basically had to pick them or you had to lose. That's how it was with Mercy, and that's how it was with Ana. And now we're seeing the same thing with Brig. So I guess what I'd like to talk about is, obviously I don't think that that's good, and I think we need a change. The question is what do we do? How do we fix this? I mean, obviously we can't force Blizzard to do anything. At the end of the day, Blizzard is going to do whatever they want to do. The most we can do as a community is come together and realize what the actual problem is. As long as we as a community can find the problem, find what it is that is making us unhappy, that we don't like, or whatever, we can give that problem to Blizzard and be like, here you go, Blizzard, this is what we don't like, and they will be able to fix it. I have complete faith in Papa Jeff Kaplan that as long as we give him the knowledge of what we don't like, basically, and that is a single character that's so broken that I need to pick this character in order to win, then I think that knowledge is what will help us moving forward as a game and as a community together. And now that I think about it, that's how it was too back with Hanzo, right? What did we see when Hanzo got his rework? I mean, Scatter Arrow got changed to the Storm Bow, right? And then from there, it was basically damage boost Hanzo, and he would just team wipe everybody inside a Graviton. And that was another meta that we saw where one character was just so broken, you needed the damage boost Dragon in order to kill. I mean, it would kill through Zenyatta's Transcendence, and there was literally nothing you could do. You got a big Grav, it was easy. The radius was like huge too. So you just team wiped them every time, and that was the meta. It was team wipe into team wipe into team wipe. And so I guess we just really need to look forward, and what kind of meta would we like to see in the future? I think we don't want to see a new character come out and completely dominate the game. And going into that, I think Ashe was a perfect example of a perfect hero for the game, took a good amount of mechanical skill, was a ton of fun to play, and also wasn't like completely broken. I don't think Ashe is so broken you need to pick her for every single map, right? You compare that to other characters, obviously, but I mean, that's the kind of character release that we need to have looking forward. We need characters that not only are fun to play, but aren't going to be completely broken and demand like you to play them in order to win the game. So obviously, moving forward, I don't know if I'm alone in this. Maybe you guys could tell me in the comments how you feel about this. But personally, I don't want to see any more triple tank or triple support. I kind of like the game being at a state where there's a main tank, an off tank, 2 DPS, and then having a main healer and an off healer. I think that's perfect. I love it. I like the game being at that state. I think it's great that we can come up with creative ways to play the game, and triple tank, triple support seemed pretty unique at the time, and same thing with like quad tank. It was interesting, but after playing it for a long time, it just doesn't seem the same to me. I can't really go in and have too much variety with that. And I think one of the main reasons why you can't have a variety compared to like the 2-2-2 comp is because there's so many DPS heroes that you have so many to pick from. There's different ways you can play that. But when you have goats, there's only a couple of ways, right? I mean, if you look at the tank and support roster, it's not a lot of characters compared to the DPS. There's just so many DPS heroes compared to support and tank. So that's one of the big reasons why I don't enjoy this team comp, is because it's lacking variety. For a large portion of it, it's just lacking variety for any team comp needing goats. It's entirely revolving around, like, Brig. You need Brig, like, 100% of the time when you run goats. And that's really the thing that enables it. But at the same time, I think even if you take Brig away, people will still run goats. Like, even though Brig is getting nerfed on the PTR, I don't think goats is dead. And I think a lot of people are going to play it still, and it's... I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I think you need to add a lot more support and tank characters to really try and maybe add some more variety to goats, to maybe then it's a lot more fun. But personally, I would like to see the 2-2-2 comp. I think that's the kind of meta that I like the best, and I think a lot of people will probably agree with me on that. I'm not sure. Let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. And then there was one more little thing that I wanted to talk about, and that's solo queue ranked. I think one of the biggest problems with solo queue ladder right now is that people care more about playing the character that they want to play than they do about winning, which we see a lot of the time with one tricks. You know, you get those Torbjorn one tricks, you get the Symmetra one tricks who just don't care about swapping, and then you get a lot of other people that are the same way, but with other characters. I mean, there's other people out there, and then there's people that play characters that get hard countered, like Tracer and Genji, right? And they just get hard countered by Brig, and you'll see them feed and just get no value out of their ults and things like that. And, you know, they'll just stay on their character, and they don't really seem to care about what the enemy team is running. If the enemy team is running goats or they're running Brig, and they're just completely getting zero value, they just don't care, and they don't swap half the time. And I don't know if that's an ego thing, a pride thing, it could be anything. But because you have people like this, you basically have a situation where solo queue ladder can be really, really exhausting and frustrating and tilting, because you lose games that you don't really have control to win some of these games. Because you're sitting there and you'll be playing, you know, a tank support, you know, whatever, and there's not really anything more that you can do in that role. It really comes down to, is the DPS player going to make the appropriate swap to counter the goats, or is he going to try and help and go goats? And sometimes you just lose because you get someone who doesn't want to cooperate with that, and it's really unfortunate. And there was a few suggestions, because I think obviously if you play on a 6v6 team, no matter what rank you are on, if you play on a 6v6 team, what happens? You work together, and you try to work together to win by making the appropriate hero choices and swaps, and you don't just stay on the same character when it doesn't work over and over and over again. So a really cool suggestion that I recently saw is that we have solo queue ladder. Leave it as it is, there's nothing we can do about it. But we limit the ability to have more than 2 people in the same group to go into solo queue. You have the ladder and the ranked system and how it is now, and you basically make it so that's only solo queue people and maybe only duo queue people, and that's all that is. And you leave it like how it is and how the game is right now, and that's what that experience is. And then you add a second ranked ladder experience that is for groups of 3 or more who are looking to do teamwork and coordination and play better as a team, and it'll just breed an entirely different environment that I think could be a lot more healthy and more fun for a lot of people. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I play on solo queue ladder, I don't know, it sucks. I much rather play on a 6v6 team because it's just more fun having 6 people on your team that actually are trying to win, and they don't care about whatever their stats is and whatever rank their hero is on the leaderboards. They're just trying to win the game, and they're trying to work together to find that best possible solution to win the game. They're not looking to just one trick a character and be the best at that character and never swap even when there's a complete hard counter to them. because that's a really miserable experience where you lose a game where you feel like you've just done everything you could do, but your team just is getting a lot less value from your character picks than the enemy team. And so that's what I think would be healthy for the meta as well. I think everybody would have a lot more fun, because then you would have the solo queue ladder experience, which can maybe just be, play whatever you want. Then you can have like a ranked team or a group ladder experience. And there you can have the actual meta kind of develop into something completely different. Because I do think that playing on a team is completely different meta-wise than it is on the solo queue experience, and the character picks and choices are just way different. For example, you'll have a character that's super strong on solo queue ladder, like Genji or Tracer, and you could probably climb rank really quickly with those characters, and sometimes maybe even get away with playing against a Brig and win against them, maybe. But if you're playing on a 6v6 team situation where people are playing together, that's not going to be the case, right? The Genji and Tracer are going to get stomped by goats. There's just no way that you're going to win from that. And, you might get some goat team comps in solo queue ladder, it happens, but you're definitely going to see more of it, like on the higher level scene and the contender scene, we're definitely going to see a lot more of that. So I guess what I'm getting at here is, I think having bigger groups of people working together in a separate ladder would be a lot more fun. And the solo queue ladder, we kind of just leave it how it is. I think we just say, it is what it is. There's going to be one tricks. There's going to be people who don't want to cooperate with your team. They're not in voice chat. They're not in text chat. They're not going to swap because they don't care. It's just how that kind of state of game is. And I do think this would be a great solution for it. And so I really just wanted to leave this last question with you guys on what kind of meta you guys would like to see. Do you guys enjoy having goats? Do you guys enjoy having triple or quad tank? Do you guys enjoy triple support? Or are you kind of more like me and you would much rather prefer a team comp that revolves around 2 healer, 2 tank, and 2 DPS? Personally, I think it's best to run a team comp with 2 DPS because you just have so many DPS varieties that you can combine, and there's really no end to the potential with it, and I like that a lot more than running goats, where there's just so little variety of it because there's so little tanks and there's so little healers to choose from compared to DPS. And moving forward, I would definitely like to see that whatever new character comes out, I don't want it to be broken or overpowered. I don't want to get a character that demands me to swap to that character. I don't want like an overpowered Mercy. I don't want to go into a game and be like, all right, we don't have a Mercy, we lose. Or we don't have a Brig, we lose. I want a character that's more like Ashe. Ashe, perfectly strong and balanced and pretty much every situation, can counter Pharah, can soft counter some character picks. I think Ashe is extremely great, balanced, and I think we need more characters like that. Characters that bring a bit more balance with it in mind, that are not too broken. I do think it takes Blizzard a lot more time to really properly balance these characters and to put them on PTR and then put them on quick play for like 2 weeks before you can even touch them in ranked. But I think that patience is really worth it. I think that patience is what allows us to get a character like Ashe and have it not be completely busted. I mean, you're not seeing people demand to play Ashe. You don't need an Ashe in every game. And that's what I think we need to see more of. We need to see more characters like that. I mean, I like it when you get reworks on characters. Like, I think the Mercy rework was fine. I just think that it was a little too strong, and I'm a little surprised that it went through, because it definitely was obvious to a lot of people how strong the Mercy ult alone was. I mean, you fly around at super fast speeds, and you can go in and just res 2 people and not even get touched by the enemy team. And it was just so hard to hit. And maybe that's an issue on Blizzard's end. Maybe they need to beta test more and have more people play on the PTR in order to try and really figure out what needs balancing or not. I don't know. That's an issue for maybe Blizzard's end, and it's not really on us. Either way, guys, I think as a community, we really need to speak up and let Blizzard hear us, so we really get our thoughts across to them so they're able to make sure that we are able to get the kind of game that we want Overwatch to be. I think Overwatch has so much potential. I think it's one of the most fun games I've ever played, and I want to always keep playing it, like, forever. I really do. But I just want to make sure that there's not too crazy of an overpowered character. I do think that Overwatch at its core is a game that demands swapping the characters all the time. So if you have a game like that, and then you release an overpowered character, then you just immediately need that character to swap to that character in most situations, or you just kind of lose from there. And it's not that fun, because then sometimes you gotta rely on your teammates to make that swap, and it's just not gonna happen in a solo queue ladder experience. So anyways, guys, that's it for my rant. That's all I really wanted to talk about for today. So now, let me tell you about our Game Leap website. We are really dedicated to helping you improve in every aspect of Overwatch, so you can win a lot more games. With hundreds of advanced guides already made and new ones released daily, Game Leap packs the biggest database of pro player guides available. Every single video is created either by a top 500 or pro player and covers every part of the game you could imagine. This includes breakdowns for every single ability, hero playstyles, positioning, VOD reviews, team compositions, and much more. This is even without mentioning all the extra features, such as stat tracking and the ability to consult pro players on the forums. Go ahead and click on the link to join Game Leap. We are confident you will truly enjoy it. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.